Okay, well, I want to welcome everyone who's remotely viewing over Zoom. Just a reminder, don't share your screen with us, and we'll continue to share our screen with you, though, however. I would love to start off with a few trivia questions this morning. I have some good ones that I think you will all be ready to answer. First, I have a really cool statistic to share. Someone take a guess how many full-time employees the College of Medicine hired since January 1 of this year. Anybody want to take a guess? Yeah.
72.
72. A little on the high side. I love that. I love that spirit, though. I mean, 72 would be amazing. Yeah, I'm talking about paid full-time employees. Yes.
25.
25. So getting closer. Yeah?
22.
22. Oh, not bad. Not there yet. Yeah?
17.
Yeah, it's close enough. 18. 18. All right. Yeah. Okay. Now, here's the question. Are any of those 18 new folks on the team here? Because if you are, please stand, and we'd love to give you another round of applause. I'm so happy you joined our team, and you make us better. And we can't wait for you to do whatever it is that you do and bring your passion. So thank you for being here. We got a birthday coming up. College of Medicine birthday, of course, I'm talking about. First person raise their hand says, when's our birthday? Right there. April 1st, that's exactly right. Everyone needs to remember that. Okay, easy question. Easy question. Come on, first person raise their hand. How old are we? Right there.
6 years?
No! No! 5 years, yes, that's exactly right. One of our newest employees, Quincy is. Okay, that's awesome. Okay, I know you know this next number just as well as I do, because I know you're all thinking about it just like I do. How many days? Plus or minus 2 days till our accreditation visit. Come on, who's got 42? Whoa!
Is that right?
What's the answer?
244?
It's 242. You both get $1. That's amazing. You need to raise your hand, though, next time. But you did get it. And you got one because you raised your hand and you were in plus or minus 2 days. Nicely done. 242 days till our creditors are here.
Were they at your office recently?
These people?
Yes.
Well, yeah, Matt might have been, but yeah. I do have the countdown timer in my office staring at me every day. I got to say, I'm going to talk a little bit more about accreditation, but just the headline, you guys are doing a fantastic job to put us in the right place for accreditation. We have a lot of work to do over these next 240 days, but I'm confident you're going to get us there, so that's pretty awesome. More important stuff. First person to tell me the name of the new Star Trek series. In the back. Picard, absolutely. And anyone in the audience tell me, if you pass that down, get it back there. Who plays Picard? Anybody? Raise their hand. Oh, far corner, yes? Patrick Stewart. Anybody name one other movie Patrick Stewart's been in? X-Men, very good. Okay. And anybody want to name their favorite Scrooge ever? Who was that played by? Yeah? Bill Murray? Okay, I'll give that to you. Yeah. That's worth $5, I guess. Oh, the best Scrooge is Donald Duck. Huh. See, I love when Patrick Stewart did it, so. Okay. Do I have one more question? Yes, I did. This is so cool. Anybody tell me where ESCOM Where's Christina?
I'm right here.
Where are you? I just made a huge mistake, and I censored myself. We are not saying ESCOM. I'm going to say WSU College of Medicine, or I could say the LCMS Floyd College of Medicine.
Correct.
All right, okay. I don't want to get in trouble with Christina. I'll be in. Okay. Anyone tell me when the LCMS Floyd College of Medicine first clinician saw its first patient? Because it's happened. Tell me what town this was in. Sprague, that's exactly right. How did you know that? This is our healthcare coach manager. She was there. Nicely done. Okay, so here's the cool stuff. Guess how many patients we saw? Anyone, take a guess. This is $5. That's all I have left, so that's what I'm giving away. $5. Yes, in the back. Oh, go. Go ahead. 10. Nope, we haven't got it yet. Yep.
37?
Nope, not 37. Oh, we'll get to 37 soon. 12, that's exactly right. We saw 12 patients. How cool is that? We had 4 students with us to share in that experience. We did a couple of school physicals. We did primary care. It was amazing. So this is something all of us have been working towards for a really long time, and it's really gratifying to see us now taking care of people in our communities. So I'm super excited and happy about that. Let me get into the slide deck here. Have some great things to share about what we've been doing and what we're going to be doing. So let's jump in. Or I could just do this. Okay. Thank you. Excuse me? Oh, yeah, I guess if you're watching over Zoom, you might want to mute your phones or mute the connection, your Zoom connection. Thank you. Kelsey, where are you? You're over there. You are the winner of the Jelly of the Month Club, yes, right? From our holiday party.
I know, I'm excited.
Yeah, you have received one jelly already, correct?
Yeah.
And it's about time for your next jelly. Is that right?
Yeah.
I think we have that together. So just saying, more incentive to go to the holiday party. I mean, next year, that could be you. Might not be jelly next year, but what flavor is it this time?
Oh, it is, sorry, it's wrapped very nicely.
Yes, it took me a long time to wrap that, by the way.
Pepper jelly.
Pepper jelly?
Yeah.
Wow, that sounds hot. All right, well, awesome. Well, congratulations, Kelsey. And let's look. This like works one time for me, and then really? It works backwards. I get it. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. So the medical education program isn't the only program that's in the process of being accredited or looked at. We have other things happening. So we have an ACGME accreditation process that is underway, and we're going to have a site visit for that on March 13th. That's an important next step in our ability to be a GME sponsor across the state and beyond. So we're super excited of making a good show of it on March 13th for that. We had an MS CPD program site visit in October for our nutrition and exercise physiology program, and I was a part of that. That went incredibly well. The NEP team did an awesome job of preparing for that visit. The site visitors, when they gave their sort of executive summary, had lots of really fantastic things to say about the program. So that's in process. And then, of course, Speech and Hearing Sciences had their reaccreditation site visit for in October, And that, again, went really well. The site visitors, upon leaving my meeting, talked about the laudatory way in which our program works and treats their students. So again, we are doing an amazing job with our academic programs across our college, and that's fantastic to see. We did do this little thing called the self-study. It wasn't so little. It took place across 4 different sites in Washington. At each of our regional campuses, we conducted a self-study. At each of those sites, we invited faculty, students, and community members to participate. And what happened is we gave them our current documentation for accreditation that talks about how we meet all the standards to be a medical school. We asked them to look at pieces of that and tell us how they think we're doing and if there are ways we can improve. And so we are currently sort of gathering all the feedback that happened at those 4 different sites and putting together sort of a report. This report becomes really important because the executive summary of that self-study gets submitted to our accreditors, and then they're going to look to us to take action on those things that our participants said we should look into and tackle. So more to come on the outcomes of that self-study. But what I want to say is, having seen the initial data and input, first of all, you guys need to know how invested our community is in what we're doing, because we had really good participation from community members at these different sites who spent the good part of more than half a day not only looking at these materials in advance, but then coming and participating in the self-study, having discussions. So that's amazing. Secondly, we had an awesome team that went out and worked with folks at the site, the faculty and staff and the deans at these different sites, and that basically went flawlessly. So kudos to that part of the team. And then we had third-year students that were at the site that were able to participate in the self-study, which was pretty amazing, and you should be proud of all of that. So I'm very happy about where we are with the self-study at this point in time. Okay, come on. We got to give a round of applause. I don't know how you cannot look at that chart and just be incredibly impressed with all of our research faculty here at the College of Medicine. It's really amazing what we've done across our very short lifetime here. This really didn't come about through adding a lot more faculty. I mean, certainly a few more faculty have joined the team that are engaged in research. But what it really represents is our existing and current faculty, working harder to get that one additional grant or get an extension on a grant. It's amazing what is happening in our research community here. I want to share some additional data that is just crazy, frankly. So this is rankings from the Blue Ridge group. This is a list that is looked at by lots of different folks, and it represents the amount of NIH funding that the college is getting. Fifth highest ranking growth. That means of all these schools, we grew more than all of them except for 5. We grew the most. So that's pretty awesome. We had the second highest growth among schools that look like us. That's even more awesome. And I guess got to say, the last college that I was at, Chicago Medical School, community-based medical school, been around for over 100 years. We surpassed them this year. We're ranked 111th, we're ranked 109th now. They've been around for over 100 years, we've been around for 5 years. So if that doesn't speak to all of you and the amazing effort that you put forward towards the research enterprise, I don't know what does. This is significant I can't tell you how impressive these numbers are for a school that's only 5 years old. So I want to say thank you to all of you involved in the research enterprise, no matter what you're doing. If you're obviously faculty getting those grants, but if you're a research assistant in a lab, if you're a postdoc, if you're a staff member that helps out the research enterprise, you could be in the business office taking care of all the business and financial needs of our researchers. You are all important to these numbers, and thank you. So another round of applause. Okay. Well, so you all know that medical students have 3 important exams to take in order to be licensed to practice medicine. The first 2 of those occur during medical school. The third one takes place during their residency. This is a very important measure or outcome of what all of us are doing. It's not only a reflection of the students we recruit, but it's a reflection of us and the curriculum that we give them. And we have decided, because of our mission, to engage in a pretty novel curriculum. There are components of our curriculum that no one in the country is doing. There are some components in our curriculum that we have borrowed from somewhere else and have taken it to the next level. And so one might have said it might be hard to predict how our students would do. Now I would say from day one, I knew exactly how our students would do because we have recruited an amazing team that have helped put together our education program. But we have the majority of our results in for our first class to take USMLE Step 1, and with the majority of results in, we have not had a single student fail the exam. So I can't tell you how important that is, again, in a different way to our continued success. Our students, I think, will be relieved when we can release more of the numbers when we do have the full data set in. But what we're doing here, besides being innovative and preparing them to practice the future of medicine, is helping them prepare to be successful in taking these exams here and today. And so I'm really pleased about that. And I'm sure Joelle, who is in the room, who I'm going to have just stand up in a second, who is our president-elect for the student body of the college, will also be super pleased about that. And Joelle, do you want to stand up and wave hi to everyone? Yes, sir.
I want to say just one quick thing. Vice President's here as well. Vice President-elect Rachel, if you want to stand up as
I
well.
did see Rachel. The other news that you've probably heard is that the governing body that that administers this exam came out with an announcement last month that said the exam is going to move to a pass-fail. Why is this important for all of us? Well, right now, this first exam is often used as a cutoff for getting interviews for residencies in certain disciplines. So let's say maybe competitive residencies such as orthopedic surgery or et cetera. If you don't score a certain number on this first exam, they won't even give you an interview. Everybody who does admissions appreciates this is a very lazy way to go about selecting candidates to practice in your discipline. But because of the volumes and for the practicalities, this is what has become to be the standard of practice. I think this is a good first step in taking away the numerical value and just saying, you know, this is a competency, more of a competency-based test. You either pass it or you don't, and the gradation doesn't really matter. It's a good first step, and the change will take place, I think the soonest is January of 2022. Is that right, Judith or Dawn? that was what they said the soonest this would take place. They haven't made a final determination on when this is. It's good for our students, it's good for our state, it's good for the future patients of the state of Washington. So I'm really happy to see that that has come. And I gotta say, there are folks in this room, including myself, who have been advocating for this kind of change at the national level for a long time. And collectively, I think many educators across the country have done this, and really happy to see this happen. Well, we are in budget season right now. Once again, the College of Medicine has been a great steward of our financial resources that the state of Washington has given us, as well as the university. We were asked to come in under budget again this year. We are on target to do that, and again, be a good partner to the university in recovering from their financial issues. The president, probably you've noticed in communications, has talked about that going into the next year, we are in a much better place than we were 3 years ago. And for the College of Medicine, all things considered, this next budget year should be a revenue neutral year, meaning we will not run a deficit this year, and every year after we will run surpluses, which will be awesome, not only for the college, but for the health science campus and for the whole university as we go forward. So it's taken us quite a bit of time to get there because there was not a set aside for the college to begin with, but it's really important for all of us because it does open up possibilities that haven't necessarily been there for us up until this point. So I'm really pleased to be in this position, and thank you to Chancellor and Vice President DeWald, who's here, if we can give him a who've helped us get to this good place. Well, Christina and her team are developing a new brand guide for the College of Medicine. I stepped into one of those things that I know is in the upcoming guide about trying to avoid FSCOM in certain communications. I think we said internally we could still use it, so I guess I still would have been within the appropriate rules of practice. But Christina and her team have been working with the university to figure out, how do we get the most bang for our dollar in terms of messaging the great work that all of you are doing. And part of the bang is to make sure that our message is always consistent, concise, on point. We're all saying the same words, the same thing. And so this brand guide is going to come out. And if you're sitting there thinking this brand guide isn't for me, it's for all of you. Everyone is going to need to be familiar with this brand guide because it's going to allow us to collectively speak with one voice about the amazing work that we're doing. So can't wait for that to come out. Sometime probably in spring we'll be able to roll it out, right? Awesome. Well, one of our newest programs that has gone through all of the approval process in the university system is our medical ethics certificate program. Dr. May, who's a clinical ethicist on faculty, whose home is the Vancouver campus, has been working with our Pullman colleagues to make this program a reality. We have a couple enrollees from the Kaiser Permanente system that are our first students in this certificate program. And I just wanted you all to know about it because there are so many things happening in the college that it's hard to keep track of everything. But this is exciting, and I think it's just the beginning of the opportunities in growing the numbers and kinds of programs that we can have and offer here. And someday I really envision our college having the full spectrum of healthcare professional kinds of programs under one house, which is truly amazing because it gets to that interprofessional goal that I think all of us share, because we feel the more we train our students in an interprofessional environment, the better they will be when they're out in the real world and able to work with each other when patients' lives are on the line. And so I think that's a goal all of us should be happy to work towards. Well, I told you about Range Health. Lots of things are happening with Range Health. And Michelle, I'm gonna have you stand up. We know you wanted $5, but Michelle's our latest hire into Range, and she's managing the mobile health unit. She's working with Luis, who's our medical director, to help us figure out which communities we're going to go visit and begin to give care. They've been working in an interprofessional manner with our colleagues from nursing and pharmacy to get nursing students and pharmacy students, as well as faculty on the mobile unit with us as we go out and begin engaging in patient care. There are still a few other details that we're working on to stand up our practice plan in sort of the final and last steps. One important thing is the way we're going to be able to pay faculty who begin to deliver services through Range Health. We recently came to agreement with the university about how we're going to do that, and that agreement is really going to facilitate us to have faculty and staff work with Range Health to deliver care to patients across the state. And so we are super close to having it all tied up. And in the meantime, we are delivering health care to individuals already. We have all the important things that we need to have in place, and we're moving forward. Just to remind you, Range Health is a separate entity from the college per se. It has its own board, but obviously the agreements tie it very closely to the medical school and the university in terms of our mission and what we want to do. So we all engage in this strategic planning process. In December, we tackled a couple issues. One of the most important issues is how do we better engage our communities, in part to get to our land-grant mission, because we want to understand our community's needs better and then figure out how through the process of education, clinical care, and research, we can reach out to them and give them what they need, not just what we want to give them. And so your discussion was, I think, very informative. We're putting all those points together so that it can be integrated into the strategic plan for this next year in terms of low-hanging fruit about how to begin to engage with communities, partially based on the suggestions that you brought up in that strategic retreat. As that is going on, the university is in a process of looking at their strategic plan. I'm on the strategic planning committee for the university. We meet monthly. Matter of fact, I think we have a meeting this Friday. And what I just wanted you to know is that our college process for strategic planning is lockstep with the university process that is being planned going forward. So the elements that the university is considering having in their strategic planning process are the elements that we are already engaged in doing. And so we are in a good place when the university finally settles on its strategic plan to be positioned, and our plan will match up with the university's plan. And that's good news, because otherwise we might have to retool or adjust our direction, and we're too young to be doing that. So we're out in front of that process, and that's a great thing. And would you agree?
Yes.
Yes, okay. You heard it from the Vice President himself. Okay, so 242 days till our site visit, but we have until July 1 to submit our documentation to the accreditors for the work that we have done. Just to remind you, when we're visited in October, our accreditors can only look at the data that we sent them in July. So what this means is if you get a sense from me over the next 4 months that I'm saying, you got to put this in place before July 1. The reason is because I want that to be in the report that we send to our accreditors, because if it happens on July 2, we don't get to include it. And then they don't consider it when they come in October. You might be thinking, well, that seems odd, like you can do a lot of work between July and October, and we will. It's just the way accreditation works, they have to call a point at which they won't consider the new things that you're doing. So to the extent that puts you all on notice, next 4 months, as I'm looking at our situation for accreditation and seeing vulnerabilities or weaknesses, I might ask teams to come together in a short period of time to say, hey, I need you to address this issue quickly and implement something in the next 4 months so we can have it on the books for our July report. We have already wrote a comprehensive DCI because it was a part of what we disseminated to our self-study participants this past month. So much of this document is written. It is not in its final stage. It needs to be rewritten a number of times before we submit in July. It's going to be collectively together, including appendices, well over 3,000 pages, well over that. It's a huge job. You all, many of you are participating in it directly. I've said this before, but for new folks, even if you are not participating directly in accreditation, you are, because your colleague might be, and they're going to have to do extra work, and that means you might have to cover for them or do something else to step in. So this is 100% a team effort, and I do appreciate all of you. These next 242 days are critical to our success, so we definitely, I feel like everyone's on it. We have our next round of acceptance calls happening this afternoon, and holy cow. It seems, how is it possible that every year our students get more and more amazing somehow? Joelle, I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that each year they get more and more fantastic. I think part of what we're doing in our admissions committee is really not only amazing, but incredibly thoughtful about how they've been fine-tuning the process to get us the best students that really speak to our mission and what we want to do. And I think that's part of maybe what we're seeing here as time goes on, is that we're getting better and better at figuring out what students are going to make the most excellent doctors for underserved and rural areas across the state of Washington. And it's just a pleasure to be involved in this. As always, we continue to have really great numbers in terms of first-generation students. We're able to attract more students from diverse backgrounds, whether it be living in rural areas or populations across the state where there's a higher density, like Hispanic populations from central Washington area. As you all know, we have our first Native American student already enrolled, and there's possibilities to add more this next year, and that's incredibly exciting. So our admissions team is doing a fabulous job, and I think we should all give them a round of applause. And Rhonda, thank you for your group that makes all these difficult decisions. I know how hard that entire group works to agonize over who we should accept or not. But if we can give the admissions committee a separate round of applause. We are going to have a bunch of those students hopefully on campus the weekend of April 4th, so if you're around and want to meet the next generation of future healthcare professionals, you can participate in that. It's going to be really exciting, and can't wait. What time are we doing those calls today?
I believe it's at
1:30? If anybody wants to come by my office, 1:30, and listen in on a few acceptance calls, you're more than welcome to do that. Stop by and you can hear some of the amazing things that are said on those phone calls. It really should speak to you about why you're working here and not somewhere else. Well, Nancy and Kelsey and her team yet again, are doing an amazing job for the college. The official, well, there's two documents. There's an official document, and then there's the real document. The real document says that we should fundraise $4 million this year. That's the real document. Nancy and Kelsey and our team have already surpassed the $4 million mark, so congratulations. And we continue to attract new donors from across the state. Some folks that are connected to WSU, but lots of folks who are not connected to WSU, but are incredibly connected to our mission and our vision. And you know, everything sort of works together here at the college. So part of Christina's team's branding efforts is also looking at, you know, how do we tell the story of the amazing things that all of you are doing to advance, you know, the health of people in the state of Washington. And that then goes to Kelsey and Nancy and their team, and then we're able to go out and share that story with potential donors who have been incredibly gracious to give to our students and our college and all our efforts. So this is pretty awesome. That Lucky 7 Foundation gift, it's our third gift of $1 million or more, so woohoo! And we're doing something next year. You know, we always do this MedVentures event. It's an event specifically to fundraise monies to give for student scholarships. This will be the 4th year that we've done this. It is the first year that we've had a chair of this event. A lot of time fundraising events will have a chair. We had not done that. But one of WSU's alumni who's been a huge supporter, he's one of those people who have given $1 million to the college already, offered to be our chair of the MedVentures event for this next go around in September. So I just gotta say, I mean, it's gonna be better than even last year. So I hope y'all can attend if you want. It's not something you have to attend. It is a fundraiser. But it's really exciting now working with Dan and helping him think about how we can even take our event to the next level. So it's we're really excited about this. All right, well, I'm going to introduce David in a little bit to talk to you about how we're strategically thinking about inclusion here at the College of Medicine. But before that, I want to play a brief video to remind you of our namesake, who's Elson S. Floyd, and sort of his vision of inclusivity here at the college. When I meet with applicants, when they come on their interview day, I end every meeting talking about the importance of this at our college. And I frame it in the way of, it's important to have a diverse group of people who think differently, who've had different experiences, who come from different backgrounds, who have different perspectives. Because the research shows, no matter almost what frame, what lens you look at, the research shows that when you have that group that comes together with these different backgrounds, and when you're tackling difficult problems, the problems get solved faster and better than not. And I hope all of you would agree that healthcare is a difficult problem. And I think one of the exciting things we have done and that we continue to do is look to have diversity of thought amongst our team, amongst our students, and we are better because of it. So the words of Elson, and then I'm going to invite David to come up and say a few words.
I want us to continue to excel in uncompromised excellence in all that we do. We have an obligation and a responsibility to make sure that we maintain accessibility, affordability, and quality in everything that we do as a university. It's about cutting edge change. It's about making a difference. and it's about the improvement of the quality of life. That's what gets me up every day, and that's what makes me so proud of serving as president of WSU.
David?
I fell asleep. All right, thank you, Dr. T. Well, oftentimes, for me, every time I get a little emotional when I see the video, just thinking about what brings me here to be part of this wonderful team. And oftentimes, when we think of innovation, when we think of reducing the disparities within the AAA, when we think of a lot of healthcare and how to improve it, oftentimes our minds may go to the use of technology, right? And using technology to bridge the gaps between where we're at and rural communities within underserved communities. And actually, scholar Dr. Daryl Smith, she actually talks about the importance of viewing diversity and inclusion in a similar vein as we viewed technology in the early 90s and or in the 90s and the early 2000s, with thinking about developing our fluency as an organization, and where at that time with technology there was a belief perhaps that only computer engineers or people with that background had the expertise to be able to contribute. And one of the parallels that the scholar ran was that at some point in time, the whole organization had to develop fluency around technology, and to think, some of you may or may not agree with me, that the invention of email could be potentially a good thing or a negative thing. But at the same time, we've all developed fluency, and maybe not how to use it appropriately, but we're using email. And so Dr. Smith talks about, again, the parallel between organizations that did not hop on board to embrace technology and the parallel of not embracing diversity and inclusion, not only from the business perspective, the educational perspective, but in our case, the societal perspective. And so the goal that we have and the challenge that we have in an attempt to live out Dr. Floyd's vision is to continue to develop our fluency as an organization. And with that being said, we have a wonderful group of colleagues. First and foremost, I need to take a step back. There have been wonderful colleagues who have been doing some phenomenal work since the inception of the organization, and actually going back in time to Washington State University as a land-grant institution, and also for us being intentionally a community-based organization. And so one of the groups that I'd like to highlight, and that's who I'm speaking on behalf of here today, is the Inclusion Matrix Work Group. And the Inclusion Matrix Work Group that was formerly led by Dr. Luisita Francis, leading us up to the last step of accreditation, was focused on ensuring communication across the organization, ensuring that we were developing and monitoring the DCI with regards to also continuous quality improvement. And in September, as of September, the Inclusion Matrix Work Group actually added a fourth purpose. And that fourth purpose is the development of a comprehensive strategic diversity plan. And so that strategic diversity plan, there are a few things that we wanted that are extremely important in terms of honoring the way that the College of Medicine functions, and to ensure that we are all developing our fluency. So our commitment to you is transparency. And one of the ways that we're attempting to be transparent is that we have members, a group of 11, actually. If you're an Inclusion Matrix Work Group member, would you raise your hand or stand up? So there are a few of us in the room, and there may be a few on the Zoom call. The goal is to have representatives from each unit across the college, so that this is not something that's imposed. This is something that's developed with and by and for, that we can roll up into the larger comprehensive strategic plan. Also ensuring that it's in alignment with our college strategic plan, that is also in alignment with the university strategic plan. So the model that we are using is the Inclusive Excellence Framework. And the Inclusive Excellence Framework actually brings together a comprehensive knowledge base of research and theories from a variety of disciplines. And so using this, and as a matter of fact, we already use inclusive excellence in terms of terminology across the college with our bias training, and we can actually animate the Inclusive Excellence Framework in ways that we're actually already doing the work. And so what it does is it provides us with a sound foundation in terms of how we communicate our story, and also how we are ensuring that we are all on the same page in terms of an understanding of why we're doing what we're doing and the rationale behind it. And so here is a timeline of the Strategic Diversity Framework Plan, so you can see that we've already begun. Where we're currently at is we're working to increase our fluency as members to best understand how to be liaisons with our respective units, to ensure that we have an understanding of the framework, but also that we're being very intentional in terms of how we're rolling out the development of the plan. One of the beauties of the way that we're situated is that we have a wonderful diversity and inclusion policy that was one of the first policies that was adopted here in the College of Medicine to build off of. So really, we're not asking all of us to do something new. What we're doing is we're animating what already exists and developing a more clear understanding of what it is that we're already doing and why it matters, and also in terms of CQI, how to continuously improve so that we are able to, we talk about this in our Inclusion Matrix work group meetings, is that what do we need to do to ensure that we continue to develop an organization where all who teach, learn, work, and heal here can thrive, can flourish, right? And that's a place I want to be a part of. And I think that we already have a solid foundation. And so you'll see that this is a somewhat aggressive timeline. And one of the proposed recommendations, once we get to proposing the timeline, is that that's when a lot of the work begins in terms of implementation. However, we're already doing so much of it. So please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or concerns, and or the Inclusion Matrix work group colleagues, and also the Inclusion Matrix work group is connected to the Equity Committee, and we were very intentional with that, so that connected to the policies and also making recommendations to ensure one unified messaging and front in all the work that we are doing. So there's actually one other piece that I'd like to share as part of the efforts is the establishment of an Inclusive Excellence Scholar in Residence. And so this year, the dates are May 6th and 7th, and the goal of the bringing Dr. Amir Ahmed is, one, he's an internationally recognized scholar, consultant, speaker, doing phenomenal work. Most recently, he's now full-time consulting, most recently the Director of Faculty Development at UMass Amherst. He will be here with us, and we're working with a group of members across the college to ensure that what we're developing is what we would like to see within our respective units. So we're working very closely with our colleagues in communications, thank you, communications, to ensure that the messaging, that all of you are aware of what will be taking place. There will be individualized sessions for respective groups across the college, and we want to make sure that everyone sees themselves within this so that we can continue to develop our fluency as the College of Medicine. So there's definitely more to come. There's already a landing page for the Scholar in Residence, and we'll make sure that as we continue to develop the schedules, that all the information that all of you need to be able to fully engage will be present for you. But please feel free to reach out if you have any questions or concerns, and thank you for your time. And if you see us walking around with these books, this is what we're reading.
Thank you, David. Okay, so I want to end with a little time for questions. Those are some clinical campus weeks. Those are the weeks where our students go to their campuses and engage with community. We are hosting a first of its kind ethics symposium in May to help develop some what are going to be new standards in terms of treating genetic data for for people who have been adopted. And this is work that has resulted out of Thomas May's efforts, and it's an international symposium that will lead to guidelines which he believes will probably be adopted in international and national circles regarding this. So this is a first of its kind event here at the College of Medicine for that. Faculty and staff awards and recognition. Hopefully all of you have saved the date. That'll be June 3rd, and so please mark your calendars for that. Launch is the celebration that we have for our second year students as they go off to their third year, their longitudinal integrated clerkships and beyond. And then, of course, graduation for all of our students in NEP, speech and hearing, and others will take place May 8th. And then check your calendar right now. A year from then, we will also include our first class of graduates from the medical education program, and that will be crazy exciting as well. So I did leave a few moments. If anybody has any questions that I could answer, I will give it my best shot. Otherwise, we will adjourn. Yes?
So you mentioned that we have the outcome of the USMLE Step 1 for a majority of the class of 2021. When do we expect that we will hear the outcome for all of them?
It's going to be 3 more weeks before we'll get the last piece of data in. Yeah. Anybody else? Yes?
In addition to all the accreditation stuff you mentioned, we have a really important date of April 1st where we're turning in our responses to the site visit that we had last, excuse me, for provisional accreditation. So the team, the greater team in the college is working real hard on a few unsatisfactory items that we're having to tell a good story on April 1st.
That's exactly right. And we do have a really great story to tell on those things that were unsatisfactory. And Jim is right, that report is due April 1st, and our team is working on that. Of course, that will be all part of the documentation that rolls in to our visit in October. So thank you, Jim, for reminding me. And yeah, thanks to all the folks working on that. Anybody else? Questions? Well, let me just remind the new people, or remind the people who've been here a while, and also for the new people, we're trying to create a culture that follows 3 priorities. And if you haven't heard it already, I want to make sure you know. And I'm going to ask the folks who've been here a while to help me out, because if you don't know this, then I have failed in my job. So the number 1 priority is? Let's try that again. The number 1 priority is? Personal health. Thank you very much. And we're going to go family and friends. The number 2 priority is? Family and friends. Then the number 3 priority is? The job. So that's the culture we're creating here. You got to take care of yourself first. And we're all here to help you do that. And then you got to take care of your loved ones, because if you're not taking care of them, you will be distracted and not able to give 100% to the job. Once you've done number 1 and number 2, then I know you'll give 150% to the job, and all of you already are, and I really appreciate that. So thanks to all of you. Go out and do your awesome thing. Thanks.